Hi there, my name is Steve Szathmary, this is Crash Course Art History, and today we're going to talk about two specific pieces by renowned painter Leonardo da Vinci, Virgin of the Rocks and St. John the Baptist. Mr. S, wasn't Da Vinci the guy who found the Holy Grail? No, me from the past, that was Tom Hanks. Hoping to secure more important commissions, in late 1482, Leonardo da Vinci left his native town of Florence and moved to Milan. His intentions were to serve the ruling Sforza family with his military inventions. The Virgin of the Rocks was painted using oil paints for pigments. At the time, oil was still a new medium that had only been recently adopted by Italian painters. With oil paint, Leonardo could capture detail on a microscopic level and convey a sense of realism that was unattainable using other types of pigment. He used them to great advantage when painting the Virgin of the Rocks, one of the great early masterpieces using this media in Italy. The painting is composed of several figures in a basic pyramidal arrangement. This composition technique is very common of Renaissance art and can be seen in works by other popular Renaissance artists like Masaccio in the Holy Trinity fresco and Michelangelo's Pieta. The characters in this painting include, from left to right, St. John as a child, the Virgin Mary, Christ as a child, and an angel. St. John was not requested by the patrons to be in this piece, but Leonardo included him to add balance. Differentiating between the two child characters in this painting can be a bit confusing, since Christ is not in the lap of his mother as he usually is in common Renaissance art. To further the confusion, Mary is not even touching her child, but instead is touching the back of St. John. However, with a little bit of analysis of the gestures and glances of the characters, one can decipher who is who in this piece. Unlike those in many famous paintings of the Renaissance, the characters in the Virgin of the Rocks all seem to be interacting with one another. Mary touches the back of St. John, who is kneeling to Christ, who blesses him. In addition, all characters are looking at Christ, and Mary holds her left hand over his head, which distinguishes him as the focal point of the painting. Thus, although Leonardo structured this piece in the conventional pyramidal way, the almost cyclical connection of all characters in the Virgin of the Rocks makes it quite different. Another interesting and very important part of Virgin of the Rocks that differentiates it from other Renaissance art is its setting. Leonardo chose to place his characters in a mysterious rocky setting, which was quite out of the ordinary. Conventional works depicting similar scenes, like Fra Filippo Lippi's painting of the Virgin and Child, or Duccio's Rucellai Madonna, are symbolized by golden backgrounds or idealistic landscapes, but Virgin of the Rocks is entirely different. Da Vinci uses the new technique of aerial perspective in the top left, where the rocks become more distant as they are hidden by a hazy fog. The very smooth transition between colors and between light and dark that Leonardo uses in this painting is called sfumato, meaning smoky. Not only is it visible in the landscape, but also in the figures, who are cast in light which smoothly turns into areas of dark shade. It is similar to the traditional chiaroscuro technique used by earlier Italian painters, but it is more refined and elevated to give a higher level of visual realism. Sfumato is used heavily by Da Vinci and is present in many of his greatest works. Da Vinci's Virgin of the Rocks uses common Renaissance painting techniques, but also goes beyond the standard. He may be a product of the Renaissance, but his techniques were new and different and set the standard for what true Renaissance art should be. Today, the Virgin of the Rocks sits in the Louvre in Paris. However, there is another version in the National Gallery in London that was likely a copy made by Leonardo a few years after painting the original. In 1513, Da Vinci painted his last great masterpiece, St. John the Baptist. Although this piece isn't as complicated and abstract as Virgin of the Rocks, there is still a lot we can draw from it. To start, the atmospheric mood of this piece is largely due to the impressive use of sfumato, or smoky effect, which we saw earlier in the Virgin of the Rocks. By applying layers of thin, translucent varnish, Leonardo created a wide range of shadows, blurring the contours into soft transitions between light and shade to achieve an unprecedented plasticity in the figure. St. John appears to be illuminated by an unknown light source outside the painting, as gentle shadows imbue his skin with a soft and delicate appearance. His finger pointed towards heaven denotes the coming of Christ. As God's witness, the painting gives visual form to the first verses of St. John's Gospel, which describe the one who is sent to bear witness to, quote, the light that shineth in the darkness, unquote. Thus, Leonardo's use of sfumato is not simply an autonomous choice by the artist, but also conveys the religious content of the picture. In Leonardo's painting, St. John seems almost to be a hermaphrodite. He has a womanish arm bent across his breast, his finger raised towards heaven, and that same enigmatic smile so admired on the face of Mona Lisa, a smile which can be seen in other Leonardo paintings like that of St. Anne. His face is almost fawn-like and framed by a glorious cascade of curls. This almost androgynous portrayal of St. John in the painting can tell us a little bit about Leonardo himself. As said earlier, the gentle shadows imbue St. John's skin tones with a very soft, delicate appearance, which has been interpreted as an expression of Leonardo's homoerotic learnings. Like the Virgin of the Rocks, Leonardo da Vinci astounded the world with his masterpiece of St. John the Baptist. His use of sfumato clearly distinguishes this work as his own, and the subtle details give us a little peek into his character. Today, St. John the Baptist is in the Louvre in France, like the original version of the rocks. Well, everyone, that's our show. Well, I guess it's just my show, since there's nobody here but me. But what else would you expect from a show with zero funding? Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you next week where I'll be streaming live and answering questions about your favorite pieces of art. Please don't forget to comment, and if you're enjoying the series, subscribe so you can stay up to date with the latest videos in the series. Bye!